Hello and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
And I'm Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Here we go, Josh.
Man, this is like, this movie is like made for me. I mean, I think it's made for you too. Space movie, scientist, engineer, you know, based on a cool book. Did we talk about The Martian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some point we talked about it.
We did. That's right. Because, we talked about Donald Glover being in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You're right. We did talk about The Martian. So this is Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. He also wrote this movie, Project Hail Mary, written by Drew Goddard and directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So, who haven't directed a live action movie since they were in the middle of directing Solo and then Creative Differences.
Oh.
And Ron Howard came in and finished it. So
I did not know that.
Watching this movie, I'm like, why didn't you let him finish? Just let him finish, guys. Come on.
And that would have been
between that, they did like multiple Spider-Verses and
the Lego
a bunch
movie.
Of other stuff. Lego movie. Yeah. I mean,
which are all great.
They are all great.
So this is the first time that they directed real humans? I mean,
No. They've done other movies. They've done other movies, but this is the first time since Solo that they've done a live action movie instead of an animated movie. So I mean, yeah, they've done, and they did TV. They did a lot of TV before they went into that. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of different, different movies. I'm just looking at what they've done so far. I mean, they did 21 Jump Street, which was awesome.
Okay, that's right. I thought so. That's why I was like, what?
And then they also did 22 Jump Street, and then they were in the middle of doing Solo, and then got kicked out. From what it sounds like, just from what I've read about Solo, they wanted to make it really Western heavy, and everybody was just kind of like, I think the train sequence might have been in their original version, but and they kept that, but there was a lot of other stuff I guess they pulled out. But and now we have like The Mandalorian, which is like such a Western.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You could say a lot of Star Wars is based on Westerns or similar to Westerns.
Or Samurai, which is also Western.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like, I don't know, maybe somebody felt like they were getting over their skis, but I think that they handled this movie very well. I mean, and the way that they use practical effects in this movie, along with all of the CGI, oh my gosh, it's so well done. So how'd you like it?
I loved every second of it. Every second of it. It's just a well-rounded, great American screenplay, great American film. And I'm not saying America like to stand out and make us sound better than anybody else, but when we do it right, we do it right. And it's entertaining, it's heart-pounding, it's thought-provoking, the themes are strong, the cinematography is ridiculous, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I mean, I could go on and on. The performances are stellar. It's just the one small thing I would say in the beginning that maybe is a little bit of a minus for me is it's a bit long. It felt 2.5 hours. It didn't feel like it flew by for 2.5 hours, which after I got out of the theater and I started thinking about it, I was like, well, what would I take out? What would I change? What would I remove to make this under 2.5 hours? And I couldn't think of a thing, but there were some parts of the film where I was like, okay, why are we still here? But it didn't pull me out. It didn't bother me. It was kind of an afterthought when things were ramping up. I love the whole idea of the flashbacks. Flashbacks have not been utilized as great like this for a long time. They're really well done.
You got to do it though, because you have to get him in space as quickly as possible. Yeah. And so you can imagine it taking more than half of the movie for him to get in space, or about half the movie for him to get in space if you didn't do flashbacks. So that is really important to get him in space, and then so that way you can kind of like figure it out with him.
That's the point.
Discovering it with him.
The flashbacks, I agree with you. You have to get them into space, and you have to make it as interesting as you can, because with all the technical stuff that happens before he gets into space, you kind of get bogged down by it. But it's all, you need it all of it. Mm-hmm. Well, when he discovers certain things in space is when we discover certain things as audience members through the flashbacks. And if you knew any of that stuff beforehand, like, I mean, I guess we should say spoilers to begin with, because this isn't really a spoiler, because you kind of know it in the first 15 minutes that 2 other crew members have died. But why are there only 2 other crew members, and why is he there? And he doesn't know who he is, which is interesting. Or he doesn't know why he's there.
But he also doesn't really know who he is. He's like, am I smart? Like at the beginning of it, he's kind of like, wait, am I a genius? And it's like, I think that's just I mean, we can, Andy Weir or Drew Goddard, whoever, they can make it up. Nobody's ever been hibernating for 5 years or whatever it is.
Sure.
Like 10 years or something. Yeah.
But he does figure out that mathematical equation of how long it would take him to get back to Earth pretty quick.
Yeah. So, and also, like, there's an electron microscope, this like $high electron microscope. He's like, why do I know that?
Yeah.
So it's so well done. And you got Ryan Gosling, who is eminently capable of taking a movie on his back and just like, dragging it through if necessary. But I think it was written very well. And then he's also playing across from a dynamic character in Rocky, who's kind of half CGI, half practical, and it's just so well done. I mean, you were talking about earlier how this is like it's an American movie. And it reminded me of Top Gun Maverick and F1.
F1, I knew, yeah.
It's you're just like, these used to come out every couple weeks in the 80s and 90s. It seemed like,
it's high.
Some were better and some were worse. But
yeah, absolutely. High entertainment, high storytelling, but with a thought-provoking meaning behind it, with an emotional meaning behind it. That's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing I was going to say for other countries to do. People do it all the time. I'm just saying that for whatever reason, there is this palpable feeling that you get from one of these films that it just lights you up in a way that I don't see in other countries. I do see other things in other people's movies in other countries that light me up, no doubt about it. Most of the time it is other people's films in other people's countries that light me up. But this one just has this, like can you imagine being 10 years old with popcorn, and you didn't get popcorn a whole lot when you were a kid, or a soda, so it was a treat, and you go to this epically long movie and you don't want to ever leave. You forget what time it is and you forget where you're at. You can't believe the roller coaster ride that you've just been on. Yeah. So
and it's funny, and it's action packed, and it's dangerous, and there's like bigger themes. So I think that, for us, like, we grew up on these kinds of movies. I mean, starting with Star Wars, and so these types of movies, whether they're more fantasy tinged or whether they're more just like down to earth, even a movie like Armageddon, it's like, there is a job that we have to do or else everybody dies. So now let's figure it out. Let's put our nose to the grindstone. Now in Armageddon, they kind of like used a get out of jail free card, and we're like, hey, what about guys who like, what were they, minors or something? Like and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But in this one, they try to ground it in a little bit of science, and that's kind of what Andy Weir is known for, is kind of like this straddling the, scientific, and then also it's pop science type stuff. And there's a lot of stuff in the movie that just doesn't work or won't work, but it doesn't bother me at all. Like it's, if they use a centrifuge in there, it's like, well, you don't need you're in zero gravity. So like, you need gravity for a centrifuge to work. But either way, those things, it doesn't bother me to the point where I just like move on, and I'm just like, it's fine, but the base concepts, it's kind of like, taken that, A is true. Well, what about B and C? Okay, well, yeah, that logically, it makes a logical progression. So I thought it was great. And just the like, it seemed like F1 didn't have as much of this, but this one has a lot of the in the lab scenes. I don't mean like him physically being in the lab, but it's just like figuring it out. Like, the montage of like, okay, get this on the table, get the beakers, get the Bunsen burner, like all that stuff. I love that stuff, the process of figuring it out. So yeah, I think that they did a really good job. And that's partially why it's so long. I mean, you can't just jump from like, this guy's a middle school teacher to he now has figured out how to allow them to procreate the astrophage. So, that to me is just kind of like, all right, we got to show a little bit of our work here. You can't just skip to the answer.
Yeah, it's essential because what are they called? Astrophage? Is that it?
Astrophage. Yeah, like
astrophage.
Star change. Yeah.
What?
I think that it's called, so bacteriophage is a virus that infects and replicates within bacteria. So it's astrophage. So it came from space.
Right.
So,
well, you need to know why that's doing what it's doing, that it is an actual creature or life, and that there's a reason why it is acting and reacting the way that it is. And you need that in the film. By the way, side note, have you heard that story about Armageddon? I think it was Ben Affleck went to the director and said, why didn't they just teach astronauts to mine? To learn how to mine.
Yeah.
And the director said, because there wouldn't be a movie and you wouldn't be in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Bay's like, shut up, kid.
Yeah.
You're never going to amount to anything as a director.
Yeah. And it's interesting how that's an actually interesting comparison, Armageddon, because it seems to be more fluff and more superficial movie making. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but this one is grounded in some form of, like you said, reality. It has some form of grit to it that films like, the Comet movie that's hitting the same time. I can't remember the name of it.
You're talking about Deep Impact?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of those movies, they just want to get to the solution one way or another. And there's a lot of problems that happen and arise to get to the solution, but they just want to get to the solution and they want to try to save as many people as possible. What's interesting about this is the figuring out how to do it is more important than getting to it.
Well, it's that. And then also they do spend time on really hammering home the fact that in 30 years, there's not going to be enough food, and best case scenario, we lose a quarter of our people. A quarter of the people die of starvation, just right off the top. And that's if everything goes perfectly and everybody works together, which, Sandra Holler, who we haven't talked about yet, is just kind of that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's only going to be bad news in 30 years. So, or less. So they spend the time to kind of, they don't sugarcoat it, yes. In, Armageddon, it's okay, the whole world will die, but that's so big and it's an immediate thing that it's just we will have to deal with it the moment that it happens. Now people have 30 years to think about it. And a lot of stuff a lot of stuff can go wrong in 30 years. So that they spend the time for that. The scene, the karaoke scene, it's okay. I mean, it's something that does need to be said, at least. It's kind of like him coming to grips that he's just kind of why are these people acting like this isn't their death march, but you have to live your life. You can't just be resigned to your death. No relationships would ever happen, and nothing would ever happen without us just kind of moving forward. Yeah, I thought that those scenes were necessary, and they did spend the time to, they totally could have cut that scene. That whole scene, that was probably him going up and talking to her at the top of the ship, and then her doing her, I didn't even know that's a Harry Styles song. I didn't know that. I'd never heard that song before, but
the story goes that they figured out that's the song they needed, and then they figured out how much it would cost, and they were like, is there any other song? And they're like, nope. So to get the rights to do it was really, because that's a recently popular song. It's not just something that has been in the zeitgeist. It's relatively newer compared to some songs you might be able to pull out of thing and not pay as much. What I loved about that scene was when Sandra Hüller was behind the door and kind of looking around, and you're thinking, at least I was thinking, oh, she's observing this from his point of view, that not necessarily why are they trying to have a good time and they know that death is the end of this story, which I guess is for everybody's story, but their in particular story going up to space, there's no return. Yep. I thought she was like observing it from almost a saddened heart, and that she was like, oh, this is kind of breaking my heart a little bit. But what it really was that she was being a little temperamental about getting up there and singing and showing her heart. And then when she does, you're like, wait, that's beautiful, because I thought she was going to like break away and cry or something, break away and be sad that these people, she would never be able to see them again. But she didn't. She joined in with the joy of life and the participation in life that they were having a good time with. And I think that brings a different perspective to what Ryan Gosling's character is thinking at that point, because I think he gets it when she does that.
He does. And also I think to me, it was her staying arm's length. She had always stayed arm's length away from everyone.
Yeah.
And that was her allowing them in. And that was her allowing the gravity of the situation to really hit for her, because she hadn't really done that. She wasn't even down there with them. She's up on the bridge. So that was a humanizing part for her. And so, which, considering the other scenes that she does, and even especially the scene when she confronts him and says like, well, I told you had a choice as to whether you could go on this mission, but you don't. You have to go on this mission. So, that I was listening to the directors podcast, and it's like Directors Guild of America, and they do a screening, and then afterwards they do a Q&A. So Lord Miller did a Q&A after a screening at the DGA Theater, and Guillermo del Toro was interviewing them. That's kind of how they do it, just kind of Q&A interview afterwards. And one of the things that Lord Miller talked about was that they had worked with a script doctor in the past, and just to kind of help them with different things in scripts, whether it's TV scripts or movie scripts. And she told them that a movie can't be about a person, it must be about a relationship. And I was like, I'd never heard it said so succinctly, but all of the movies, all of the best movies, all the movies that work are exactly that. And so what did Lord Miller do? They do a movie where it's basically one person, but that one person pretty quickly starts this relationship with, another being. And it starts off with somebody who doesn't have any family, doesn't have a significant other, doesn't have a partner or anything like that, and then is now thrust into this situation and in close proximity to this thing, and they have a common goal, but they also really learn to care about each other. Yeah. And it's so cool. I just think it's so cool.
My next page of my notes, it says, talking about the themes, that it's a relationship film. I literally wrote that down. Yeah. And it's a buddy film. And they're both fish out of the water. Mm-hmm. They are in a situation that neither of them probably want to be in. We don't really know about Rocky's disposition when it comes to something like that. But once they figure it out, that they can work together, it becomes something more than that. It becomes about them becoming family. And that's why the second ending, whatever ending that is, because I've heard a little bit of complaints about how it kind of has the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it didn't bother me a bit. I wanted it 100% to end that way. We needed, spoiler alert, a happy ending. We needed a form of happy ending after every almost and what ifs and just about deaths and almost deaths and deaths, if you will, and rebirths, and the possibility of going home, the not possibility of going home, the acceptance, and then the denial, and all that stuff. We needed something like a walk on the beach. We needed that. And I'm glad that they did it. But yeah, it's got a lot of those strong themes. It's got a lot of, trusting a person that you don't know, trusting an entity that you don't know.
And it's also something that not only is it, you don't know it, you've never seen it before, you don't understand it,
Yeah.
And it couldn't be any more different than you are. But still they find common ground, and still they work together, and still thumbs down.
So great. And the fact that he didn't even try at the end, he just was like, yep.
He's like, yeah, thumbs down, man.
Yeah.
No, it's so good.
I got the impression that maybe Rocky didn't have but I guess he did, because he had thumbs. I guess he could have done thumbs up.
He might not have been able to rotate it.
Right.
Because it was like his hand had like 2 fingers in the top and 1 finger in the bottom. So, and you were talking about how, like, he was a fish out of water. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that, he wasn't a scientist. He was an engineer. He was like a builder. I mean, he was like, well, he's not a glorified car mechanic, but he's like his world's smartest, mechanic. He had 23 other beings on that Iridians on that ship, and they all had a job, but they're all gone. So now it's on him to save his whole world, and just like it's on Ryland Grace. So I did hear somebody say that. So his name's Grace, and so the ship is called the Hail Mary. So in this movie we technically had Hail Mary full of grace.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of snipey little things about his name, and he's full of But it endeared me to him that he had what did you want, Barker? I mean,
No,
you needed something with Grace. You needed something light in a way. So when you said he was an engineer, Rocky was an engineer, what was interesting is how they utilized each of their characters' attributes to the best of their ability to make this thing happen. And that, which grounded it in some kind of logic, grounded it in some kind of reality. But I need to switch and ask a really quick, sort of off topic, back to something you said a little earlier, because I'm dying to know how. I couldn't grasp how long, I can't remember actually, how long was he supposed to be in space from the time he got there to the time that stuff came back?
I think it was 11 years to get there. And then the probes, I think, can go back maybe faster, but I think it was 11 years, and then the probes can somehow go back faster because it's not they're able to propel themselves a little bit more efficient, or a little bit better, I guess. So, I mean, it was, you could tell that at the end, Sandra Hüller was older.
That's why I was asking.
Makeup on her.
Yeah, that's why. And I was also wondering how long, because they didn't make that distinction in the film, did they? That if you got there in time and sent this back in time, we'd still have this amount of years to work on it on Earth. They didn't make any clarification of that, did they?
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I think that the time frame worked out so that, he wasn't going to have to go there and go back, because they didn't have enough fuel to go back. Right. So they go there, they get the information, and then they, go back. But he was, I mean, I thought it was 11 years. I couldn't remember. It was like 10 years and something. He did it on the whiteboard, I think. I can't remember, but did you see on that whiteboard, there's like a couple things that he wrote on there. One of them was like glasses. Another one was like always muscles ? Just like,
no, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, it was funny.
When he was in space, or when he was
when Earth? He's like still trying to figure out who he is, and it's just like you got a guy who looks like Ryan Gosling, and he doesn't know who he is, and he's like, "Did I always have muscles like this?"
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it's kind of like, oh, okay,
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, it puts it in perspective of movie star good looks, because everybody thinks, a movie star couldn't be a scientist, or a movie star or a good looking person couldn't do this. And so it puts it in perspective. What he does a great job of is that kind of throwaway, downtrodden humor thing that he does, and that the whole film has. No, that's not right. No, we're not doing that. No, okay. No, that's not it. It's a really interesting tone and cadence that the script pulls out of him. So it really is one of those performances, and we'll get to Sandra Hüller's performance in just a second, although we did chat about her, that if this movie had come out in October of this year, that would be front runner for the Oscar at this point.
Really?
I think so. It's, I mean, maybe not front runner, but it would definitely.
Amy Madigan got an Oscar, and hers came out in March.
Yeah, there is a precedence for that, because Silence of the Lambs came out like in February or something, right after the Oscars. and it went all the way down and won 5 of the top ones. So there's a precedence for it. And I'm not saying that it's not. I wouldn't be surprised if it does have a life all the way through to the Oscars and that at least some of the production value gets nominated. But this is the most emotional performance Ryan Gosling has put on film. When has he been this emotional on film? I can't think of it.
I watched it at Alamo, and beforehand they had a bunch of Ryan Gosling crying scenes that they just Oh yeah. Well, Half Nelson. I mean, Blue Valentine.
Oh,
I mean,
right. Okay.
The Notebook.
You're right. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I haven't either. But I mean, I've seen the scene at the end where him and Rachel McAdams embracing in the rain.
So I guess I'm just used to the Drive and the Ryan Gosling
But this Ryan, like The Nice Guys, is a perfect example. That's when I was kind of like, oh yeah, he can totally do humor. And then he did La La Land and The Nice Guys pretty close to each other. And so it's just that right there. And then also Crazy Stupid Love. I mean, he's hilarious in that, and he's great
hysterical in that. When he opens the Velcro wallet when Steve Carell opened, and he's like, it's amazing. He's amazing at it. But I guess I'm just used to him. I guess I've been proven wrong that Blue Valentine. You're right. But this one just seemed, I don't know, real, and he seemed like a real human being. Not that he doesn't in those other films. It's just I just had never seen. I guess I don't know. I guess
it's been a while. I think it's
maybe
because the last few movies he didn't do movies for a while, but like he did The Fall Guy, and we talked about that. So like what was it? Place Beyond the Pines. That was pretty emotional. But
it's a tough one to get through.
Yeah, it is. But talk about relationships. Wow.
Wasn't that where he met his wife?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Because or at least they were in that movie together, and she hasn't been in much since. I mean, she's been in a couple things, but
she's raising their kids.
Yeah, and they're famously like not on social media and they don't do anything like out in the world. They just kind of like hang out at home. So
I
good
don't
for
blame
them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a reason why we don't know who their kids are, what they look like, and it's pretty awesome.
Do your job, get your paycheck, and go home. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Well, it's a job. I mean, that's what it is. It's a job. So he's funny in Barbie. He's hilarious in Barbie.
Yeah, he's hysterical, and he cries in Barbie too.
No, it's true. Well, yeah.
This just seemed more human. I don't know if that makes sense. It just seems just different for him.
Well, I mean, he had the benefit of being the main character of a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, and was in a lot of the scenes, like most of the scenes.
Yeah.
So you can really flesh out a character a lot more in that. I just got caught up on Hacks, and it's such a good show. And it's such a good show because, well, I was saying this, it's such a good show because these characters are so well drawn, especially the two main characters, the Jean Smart and the Hannah Einbinder characters, are so well drawn out, and they're consistent characters, but they also have arcs, both of them, and it's because there's 4 seasons of it, and there's whatever it is, there's tens of hours of them on screen as these characters, and you can see where they've been and where they're going, and I mean, and it's sharp and witty and well written and complex. So that you don't get that in movies usually. I mean, and even movies where they have a bunch of them, like Mission Impossible. Like, I don't know anything about Ethan Hunt. I know he's cool. I know he can kick some ass, but that's about it. So yeah, I think that being the lead of a longer movie like this, Ryan Gosling got a little bit of a chance to spread out. So
makes sense. Plus the script called for it, the screenplay called for it. So I got a question. Was there a romantic tension between him and Sandra Hüller, or were they just co-workers? There seemed to be a moment where I thought, I'm glad they didn't, meaning I'm glad the script didn't go. No? Okay.
I don't think so. I think that they're both socially awkward people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I thought if this is going to be the last time.
No, I think that they're both socially awkward people, and I think that she didn't really have a sense of humor, and you can tell that he obviously does. I just didn't feel that pull between them. I felt like it was a collegial relationship, and I think that she believed in him at the very beginning of the movie, and he didn't believe in himself. But by the end of the movie, he believes in himself to the point where not only is he going to go save his friend Rocky, he knows that he's the only one who can go save his friend Rocky. And so he goes from being a person who's like, yeah, I don't want to go into space and die. No, thanks a lot, but no. To, I'm going to go die for my friend. And for my friend's world. Like, sure, maybe I'll save my world, but I'm going to do my damnedest to save my friend's world and save my friend if I can.
And also he has the strength to send that message about, I kind of get what you did. I forgive you. When he's talking to Sandra Hüller at the end, when he's like, okay, yeah, if he hadn't found himself, he didn't know who he was at that point. He would still be maybe bitter or spiteful or, a little less jovial about the fact that she sent him consensually sent him to space. But I'm glad that you said that you didn't think that there was any sexual tension or relationship tension between the two, because one, I don't think you needed it. And two, it was nice to see a male-female relationship in a movie that was based on the job. It's nice to see that they are together because of their brains and because of the situation and trying to work it out.
Well, this is a relationship movie. It's just not a romantic relationship movie.
Which is nice.
It's a best friend relationship movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a road movie, I guess.
I was going to say if it was the 90s, it would be a buddy movie on the road. They would be going from New York to California to save the world.
Yeah. So yeah, but they're thrown in the same car and they don't know each other and they can't speak the same language and and they're annoyed by each other and so but they love each other. So it's pretty cool. That right there, I think the fact that he didn't have family or a love interest, like it kind of like boils down the story, and it allows for that character arc to be even more finely honed. And it also eliminates the I'm going to save my wife or I'm going to save my children, no, he's not going to save his children because he doesn't have children.
Right.
He's going to save his world. Like he's going to do all he can to save everyone on Earth, not just his kids. And then by extension, anybody else who's around, when they get this like fancy new, astrophagy stuff or whatever. What is it called? What they called it? The amoeba, Taumoeba.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. The thing that's going to kill the astrophage.
Right.
It makes it a lot cleaner. It just makes it a lot like, he's doing this because of how his relationship with Rocky has expanded and how he's come to find himself and has become a lot more confident in himself. So yeah, it's a great message. And I saw some, younger kids and seemed like they all enjoyed it. I don't know. But I don't think that the content is too serious, especially when you compare it to some like 80s movies that were technically like kids movies or whatever. They were pretty, I was watching Temple of Doom at like 7 years old. So, it's that. I think this movie is perfectly fine for
what is it? What is it rated? PG-13?
PG-13.
Yeah.
You talked about the cinematography, and I agree. I think that there's you watch a few Netflix movies and you start to, or even a lot of TV now, even a lot of prestige TV now, and it's just uninspired lighting and it's pretty flat. This movie was definitely not flat. There's a lot of scenes. They have a great use of silhouette in that. And I think that the cinematographer was Greg Fraser, who did Dune and Dune 2. Because he's coming off of a lot of other big movies, and this could have been like a trifle for him, but it seems like he really kind of locked in, and instead of just taking a paycheck, he decided that he was going to be serious about it. So yeah, Greg Fraser did Dune and Rogue One, and so Zero Dark 30, the Batman. I mean, he's done
so
a
he
lot.
can do dark and beige. Now he can do light and color and vibrant, because when you see the astrophage, is that what they're called?
Astrophage.
Astrophage. I knew as soon as it came out of my mouth. When you see them in the neon pink color the first time, it's like that's a really smart way to do that, because you have to distinguish where they are, and it has to be a certain color to make that pop. And also the red strip that goes across that they call the red tape thing.
Well, it's infrared, so it's very close to what we can see, but we can't see it just barely.
Right. So, it's crazy if you think about the spectrums of light where we can't see certain things. That's just nuts. But
most things we can't see. We can see about this much of this.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes sense, though. That's probably why people think there are ghosts, because maybe at some point you tap into it accidentally, or your chemical things in your brain let you see something that you're not supposed to see, or the Matrix has a glitch. One of the two, one of the three.
It's got to be one of those.
So piggybacking on the technical side of the film with cinematography, the production value was stunning, and here's why I think that's true. Because it is stunning, but also all of the made up stuff, like Rocky's spaceship and what it looks like, and his technology and how he utilizes it, and his what would you call it? His barriers, his
it's all xenon, but it's like solid xenon. But in the book they go over that a lot more. So the first scene where he meets Rocky, and it's like just a wall, and then there's like one little triangle that's clear, and then Ryland Grace taps on it and is kind of like, so then he wants him to leave, like Rocky wants him to leave. The reason why he wants him to leave is because each of those different types of xenon that he had on that wall were all different, and they all passed different frequencies of light. So he was trying to figure out what we could see and what we couldn't see. And so once he figured out that, we can see through this little triangle, I'm going to use that particular thing for the whole window.
And that's why it goes from kind of rocky looking structure to triangle looking structures.
To clear. And that's why when he comes back and he's like, well, this is new. Like I can see all the way through. It's because Rocky. Yeah. That's where like the book is really good about like digging deep into a lot of that stuff. But I mean,
well, that's inferred. I mean, you get that from the movie. You don't technically understand all of that, but you do realize that he changed the face of everything, and that he can do that in that period of time. I actually don't understand how he does that stuff, but he does do it quite often in the film. But you get that. I wouldn't be able to explain it exactly like that, but you do know. Yeah.
I would compare him to like a woodworker, like a carpenter.
Oh yeah.
So except he doesn't use wood; he uses solid xenon. Just some chemical.
Well, it starts with the model that he sends over too.
Yeah.
Which he's smart enough to know that is a direction, a map. And I guess he's hoping that who's ever over in the Ryan Gosling in the Grace ship is smart enough to figure out that is pointing to where he is from. Another technical question. So he learned our language faster than Ryan Gosling learned his language, correct?
No, they're translating both ways.
Right.
It kind of drops off. Like that whole like back and forth drops off just for storytelling reasons, because we don't have to wait for the translation between. Yeah. Now by the end of the movie,
They understand.
There is no translation.
No.
He totally understands
Right.
Rocky's language, and
that's
Rocky understands his language.
That happens in all sci-fi stuff. Enemy Mine, it happens in all those films.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It just is. Yeah, because I thought that Rocky was able to understand what a certain word meant faster than what Grace did, because it seemed like Rocky knew how to respond to Grace faster. Maybe it's just,
Well, it's so we're just they're cutting out the like whenever Ryan Gosling says something, it gets transmitted in these weird sounds.
Right.
And we're just not hearing that. They just kind of push that aside because it just takes extra time. So that's how they're going back and forth, But and then when he makes his word or makes his noises, that gets heard by the laptop, and then the laptop translates.
Yeah. But that just seemed to happen in such a quick way. I get what you're saying though, for movie purposes. And then also like the container that comes over, it's the lefty loosey righty tighty thing.
Yes.
The design of it kind of indicates exactly what you're going to see at the end of the film when you get brought aboard his ship and get to see his ship. I just thought for a sci-fi fantasy idea, those seem to make sense. I believe that that's what that ship would look like. I believe that that's the technology Rocky had. I believe that that's what it would look like. I believe that that's how everything would work. And sometimes in sci-fi films, it's like, oh yeah, that's a little sci-fi-ish. Like when they make cars in Blade Runner or any of those films, they always look like not a logical extension. I think we actually talked about this at some point. They don't look like logical extensions of something that's 200 years past the technology of what a car looks like now. They always look just not real. And
and that's because they, like in the 80s, they just changed the cars to be flying cars. That's it. So
that's true.
It's like, I mean, I think they might have actually driven on the road too. I think they did drive on the road and flew, but so you would need wheels and stuff.
So I feel like we're coming to the end, but I want to ask you this question. Do you think he ever goes home? Do you think Grace ever goes home?
That's the great part, is we don't have to know. I mean, I think that there's a potential that I think he would love to know if Earth still exists. And my guess is that on Arid, they have a way of seeing that. Now they're light years away, so you're going to be looking at Earth from years in the past. So, if they look at a telescope and they could actually see Earth, which I don't know if they could, it would be like, 11 years ago. It's still there. But yeah, there's obviously ways for them to get messages back and forth, because all of his stuff got there. And he
didn't send that in the probes?
No, yeah, I mean, all of his his information. He's talked about Rocky, and he talked about what they did, and gave him, all the documentation for like what they found and all that stuff. So there's a way for, and they know where Arid is. I mean, they know where that planet is. I mean, he can tell them where that planet is. So there's probably ways to get, transmissions back and forth, but it would still take a long, long, long time.
Well, I guess he could wait a significant amount of time hanging out with Rocky, and then say, 30 years have gone by, or however long it would take for Earth to figure out if they could have fixed the problem, and then he could go back then.
And then maybe there would just be a husk of a world. I don't know.
No, I'm saying that if they're 11 years behind, right? So they would wait 33 years, and then because it was 30 years that, I don't know, because
something would have happened.
Yeah, I don't know if he could tell what. Yeah, why take the chance at that point?
Yeah, I know. I think that there would definitely need to be a bit of communication between before he decides to go back. But just the fact that like there's a possibility for him to go back. I mean, he would choose to go back, and he wouldn't go back because he had to. Right. And he's been accepted, by them. They made this whole huge ecosystem for him. That's amazing. He also save their planet. So
yeah,
that's probably the least they could do. But,
I was just so happy they were both alive at the end of the film. I was just so happy. It's so great because I didn't want to have this spectacular experience and then it would have been fine. I was kind of setting myself up for the fact that, we would no longer have Grace in this existence. But I was just happy that it ended the way that it did. And I love the last school teacher scene and all of the little rock creatures. And there's like a purple blue one. And I was like, oh, I want that one. He's so cute. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyable film.
It's a bookend too, because that was the first question that he asked the kids when he tossed he also grabbed, I just noticed it this time, he grabbed some sand and then he like put it into this little like funnel thing. I don't know if it was like a vacuum or something. So that I think that allows them to kind of like send things back and forth to be able to interact with each other, like with physical things. You're like, hey, check this out. This is on Earth, that kind of stuff. And but the fact that he's still doing what he's passionate about and that he's able to, to help people, that's, he turns out he's actually teaching because he wants to now, not because that's what he has to do because his career was ruined and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, no, that's really cool. All right. Well, you can check us out on the web at actorengineer.com. You can go to facebook.com/actorandengineer. And we're on YouTube. Just search for the Actor and the Engineer podcast. I'll see you next time.